I heard a lot about what was going on with Shedeur Sanders coming into the draft. And I will contest to you, I will proclaim to you on national television that so much of what happened to Shedeur Sanders at draft day to drop to the 144th pick, a fifth rounder, when initially he was projected to be a top 2 or 3 quarterback taken in the draft, for all of that to happen to him, that was a slight, those were people that were hell bent on making sure that Deion Sanders didn't get his way. And they went and they punished his son to punish him. Deion knows it, I know it, anybody with sense know it, we've all heard it covering this league.
What if I told you that one of the biggest sports personalities in America just dropped a bombshell that could shake the entire NFL to its core? Stephen A. Smith literally went on national television and claimed that NFL teams conspired to tank Shedeur Sanders' draft stock, not because of his talent, but because they wanted to punish his father, Deion Sanders. We're talking about a coordinated effort across multiple franchises to destroy a young man's career before it even started. And now, with Jimmy Haslam's own words revealing the chaos behind Cleveland's draft room, we might finally have the smoking gun that proves this conspiracy was real. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear will change how you see the NFL forever. Listen, I've been covering the NFL for years, and I thought I'd seen everything. But when Stephen A. Smith went on First Take and basically accused the entire league of orchestrating a character assassination against a 22-year-old kid, my jaw hit the floor. This isn't just about draft position anymore. This is about systematic discrimination, family feuds, and power plays that reach the highest levels of professional football. Let me break down exactly what happened here, because the more you dig into this story, the more twisted it becomes. Shedeur Sanders was supposed to be a top 3 quarterback in this draft. Everyone knew it. Scouts knew it. Coaches knew it. Hell, even your casual fantasy football buddy probably knew it. But somehow, someway, this kid fell all the way to the 5th round, pick 144 to be exact, to the Cleveland Browns. Now, Stephen A. didn't just throw this conspiracy theory out there for clicks. This man has sources throughout the league, and when he says something this explosive, you better believe he's heard it from multiple people. And here's the exact quote that's got everyone talking. So much of what happened to Shedeur Sanders at draft day to drop to the 144th pick, a 5th rounder when initially he was projected to be a top 2 or 3 quarterback taken in the draft. That was a slight. Those were people that were hell-bent on making sure that Deion Sanders didn't get his way. And they went and they punished his son to punish him. Think about that for a second. We're talking about NFL franchises, billion-dollar organizations, making personnel decisions not based on talent, not based on fit, not based on need, but based on personal grudges against the player's father. If that's true, it's not just unethical, it's absolutely disgusting. But here's where it gets even crazier. Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner, basically confirmed Stephen A.'s theory without even realizing it. When asked about drafting Shedeur, Haslam said, "If you'd have told me, let's see, we picked him on Saturday, right? Friday night, driving home y'all are going to pick Shedeur, I would say that that's not happening."
If you'd have told me, let's see, we picked him on Saturday, right? Friday night, driving home, y'all are going to pick Shedeur, I would say that's not happening. But we had a conversation early that morning, and then we had a conversation later that day. I think we had the right people involved in the conversation. At the end of the day, that's Andrew Berry's call. Andrew made the call to pick Shedeur. Just like who's going to start or what play we're going to call is Kevin's call. But that's Andrew's call. He made the call.
Wait, hold up. The owner of the team that drafted Shedeur Sanders is saying that as of Friday night, they weren't even considering him? And then magically, after some mysterious Saturday morning meetings, they suddenly decided he was worth a 5th round pick? Come on, man. That's not how competent organizations operate. Louis Riddick, former NFL executive, called this out perfectly. He said Shedeur is ice skating uphill because the organization clearly isn't united behind him. And you know what? He's absolutely right. When your own owner is out here basically saying, "Yeah, we didn't really want this guy, but somehow he ended up here," how is that kid supposed to succeed? But let's talk about what's happening right now in Cleveland, because the conspiracy might be continuing as we speak. Recent reports from Browns training camp are telling a very different story than what you might expect. While the mainstream media wants to focus on Joe Flacco getting first-team reps, there's been some interesting developments that suggest Shedeur might be fighting against more than just football competition. According to ESPN Cleveland, Shedeur had a perfect day during the first padded practice, going 9 of 9 with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. He was the only quarterback to score that day. Let me repeat that. In a 4-way quarterback competition, the 5th-round rookie was the only one finding the end zone. But here's the kicker. He's still running with the 3rd team. Now, if you're thinking like a normal person, you'd say, okay, the kid who's completing every pass and scoring touchdowns should probably get more opportunities, right? Wrong. Because this isn't about normal football logic anymore. This is about organizational politics, and Shedeur is caught in the middle of something much bigger than him. Even more telling is what's been happening with his practice reps. Reports indicate that Shedeur has been seen throwing passes to equipment, guys instead of actual receivers. Think about that image for a second. A quarterback who was supposed to go in the top 3 rounds of the draft is out there throwing to team staff members because they won't give him enough reps with actual players. And you know what's really heartbreaking about this whole situation? Deion Sanders revealed that Shedeur specifically asked his father not to come to training camp. Why? Because Shedeur knows he's getting screwed over, and he doesn't want to create any more distractions that could hurt his chances even further. The kid is protecting his pops from seeing his son get disrespected on a daily basis. This is where Stephen A.'s conspiracy theory starts looking less like a theory and more like documented fact. You don't treat a player this way unless you're trying to make a point. You don't draft someone in the 5th round and then immediately bury them on the depth chart unless you never wanted them in the first place. But here's what really gets me fired up about this whole situation. The double standard is absolutely insane. We've seen quarterbacks with way more baggage, way more questions, way more actual problems get drafted higher and treated better than Shedeur Sanders. Eli Manning literally refused to play for the team that drafted him, and it didn't hurt his stock. Johnny Manziel had more red flags than a Chinese parade, and he went in the 1st round. But Shedeur Sanders, whose only crime is having a famous father who speaks his mind, gets blackballed by the entire league? Give me a break. And let's talk about what Mad Dog said, because even though I disagree with his overall take, he made one point that actually supports the conspiracy theory. He said, if he's good, and if he earns the job, he's going to get the job. But that's exactly the problem. He's not getting the opportunity to show he's good. How can you earn something when they won't even let you compete for it? Stephen A. called it perfectly when he said this was personal. League executives watched Deion Sanders coach at Colorado, saw him speak his mind about the NFL, saw him challenge their authority, and they decided to send a message. But instead of going after Deion directly, they went after his son. That's not just business. That's vindictive, and it's wrong on every level. The most messed up part about all of this is that Shedeur is handling it with incredible maturity. When asked about not getting first-team reps, his response was simple. It's not in my control. But you know what should be in his control? Getting a fair shot to compete. Getting evaluated based on his arm talent, his decision-making, his leadership, not based on who his father is or what his father has said in the past. Recent training camp reports show that after 5 days of practice, Shedeur has completed 29 of 40 passes with 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Those aren't 5th-round numbers, folks. Those are starting quarterback numbers. Yet he's still buried behind Joe Flacco and fighting for scraps with the 3rd-team offense. And here's where this story gets even more interesting. There are rumors circulating that the Browns might be looking to make a blockbuster quarterback trade. Now, call me crazy, but if you've got a rookie quarterback who's completing 72.5% of his passes in practice and leading the team in touchdown passes, why would you be looking to trade for another quarterback? Unless, of course, you never really wanted the quarterback you drafted in the first place. This whole situation reminds me of what Stephen A. said about people in personnel meetings getting personal about players they don't want. We've all heard stories about coaches and executives who make decisions based on personal preferences rather than pure talent evaluation. But this might be the first time we're seeing it happen in real time, with this level of transparency. The saddest part about this entire conspiracy is that it's working exactly as intended. Instead of talking about Shedeur's perfect practice performances, we're talking about why he was drafted so late. Instead of focusing on his potential as a starting quarterback, we're discussing his father's personality. The narrative has been successfully shifted away from his talent and onto everything else. But here's where I think the conspirators might have miscalculated. Shedeur Sanders isn't just talented, he's mentally tough. Growing up as Deion Sanders' son, dealing with the pressure, the expectations, the criticism, that's created a young man who's built for exactly this type of adversity. And if he does break through and become a starting quarterback in the NFL, this story is going to age very, very poorly for a lot of people. The preseason games are going to be crucial for Shedeur's future. If he continues to perform at this level, when the lights are brightest, it's going to be really hard for the Browns coaching staff to justify keeping him buried on the depth chart. And if he doesn't get opportunities despite strong preseason performances, then we'll know for sure that Stephen A.'s conspiracy theory isn't a theory at all, it's reality. What makes this even more compelling is that Louis Riddick, a former NFL executive, essentially confirmed that organizational politics play a huge role in player development. When he said you need advocates within the organization, he was speaking from experience. He's seen talented players get buried because they didn't have the right people fighting for them in those closed-door meetings. Where does this leave us? We've got Stephen A. Smith making explosive accusations about league-wide conspiracy. We've got Jimmy Haslam's own words suggesting organizational chaos around the draft pick. We've got a rookie quarterback performing at an elite level in practice, but getting treated like an afterthought. And we've got a young man who's handling all of this with more grace and professionalism than the adults who are supposed to be mentoring him. The real question isn't whether Shedeur Sanders has the talent to be an NFL starting quarterback. His college resume and early training camp performances have already answered that. The real question is whether the NFL establishment is willing to admit they were wrong about him, or if they're going to double down on this apparent vendetta against his family. Here's what I know for sure. If Shedeur Sanders does break through and becomes a star in this league, there are going to be a lot of general managers, coaches, and scouts who have some serious explaining to do. Because right now, it's looking more and more like Stephen A. Smith wasn't making up conspiracy theories. He was just connecting dots that were already there for anyone willing to look. And maybe, just maybe, this whole situation will force the NFL to take a hard look at how they evaluate and treat young players. Because what's happening to Shedeur Sanders right now is bigger than football. It's about fairness, integrity, and giving everyone a real chance to chase their dreams. But here's the million-dollar question that's going to keep you up at night. If Stephen A. Smith is right about this conspiracy, how many other talented players have had their careers destroyed before they even started because of politics and personal grudges? And more importantly, what happens to Shedeur Sanders if he continues to dominate in practice but never gets a real shot to prove himself in games? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Stephen A. is onto something, or is this just another hot take for ratings? And if you want to stay updated on this developing story and other NFL conspiracies the mainstream media won't touch, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because this rabbit hole goes way deeper than you think. The truth is out there, and we're just getting started uncovering it.